a great one, Chris Denari, broadcaster for the Pacers. And the Pacers did what they needed to do after that first round, first game where they lost on the road. And not a big surprise, except for Antetokounmpo wasn't in the lineup, which didn't make Pacers fans feel all that great. But they come back in game two and take care of business.
Yeah, absolutely. No Giannis in the first two games, and we'll just have to wait and see if he's available tomorrow with that calf strain. But yeah, game one, I thought the Pacers looked very nervous. A number of guys that had never played in the postseason. You're playing against a veteran Milwaukee team. Damian Lillard had 35 first half points. He had 19 in the first quarter. And the Pacers got into a hole and really never recovered. They cut it to 12 going to the fourth quarter, but it quickly got to 20. And then in game two, the game started very similarly. Damian Lillard was hitting three-point shots. Brook Lopez was hitting three-point shots. But the Pacers went on a nice run, had a halftime lead, had a lead after 3/4 of 9, and built it out to a 23-point lead to really get a fairly easy win in game two. Pascal Siakam's been great. He's had games of 36 and 37. But I think the biggest thing, Jim, on Tuesday in game two, the Pacers defense was better, and they played at the pace they wanted to play. I thought Milwaukee controlled the pace in game one, didn't allow Indiana to get out and run, really turned it into more of a half-court game. And I thought Indiana on Tuesday was able to play at the pace that they wanted to play. Even when Milwaukee scored, they took the ball out of the net and got the ball up the floor very quickly. So, they always say that a playoff series in the NBA starts when the road team gets a win. And Indiana sort of opened it up because now there have been some other road wins. Miami won in Boston last night. Dallas won in LA. So after I think it was 11 or 12 straight games in the playoffs were won by the home team, the road team has now won 3.
And now, fortunately for Indiana, they come back to the confines of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and where a sellout crowd will await them, and they have played very well in Gainbridge this year, and hopefully that continues.
Yeah, it's going to be electric. I mean, I was just talking to producer John. The Pacers have not played a home playoff game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse since 2019, because the last time they were in the playoffs was 2020, and that was in the bubble in Orlando. So the atmosphere tomorrow night, the atmosphere for game 4 on Sunday is going to be tremendous. Tomorrow's an early start. It's a 5:30 tip because ESPN has a triple header. And so the Pacers and the Bucks will tip at 5:30. We'll have the pregame show on Bally Sports Indiana at 5. And then game 4 on Sunday is a 7 o'clock start Sunday night. We'll be on the air at 6:30 with our pregame show as usual. So, yeah, I think the atmosphere, Jim, is going to be outstanding. And it really helps when you come back 1-1. It would have been good even if Indiana would have lost the first 2 games in Milwaukee. But I think now with a real chance to take firm control of this series, the Indiana faithful are going to be really, really strong starting tomorrow.
And if they were able to get out of Indiana with winning both of these next 2 games, that would put them in a catbird seat with 3 games left to play. Is that right? My math right? And with yet another home game back in Indiana if needed.
Yeah.
That would force Milwaukee to have to win 3 straight to win that series. So
yeah, absolutely. And so I said this. I even with Giannis out, I like the fact that the Pacers were on the road for the first 2 rather than having home court advantage or having the first 2, because then you have pressure on you. And I will say this, to win this series, absolutely, Jim, I think you need to win both games 3 and 4 at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So you have a little bit of pressure on you. But I think, the good thing is they know they can win in Milwaukee. They've won 2 games in Milwaukee this year. one in the regular season, and then of course game 2 on Tuesday. But the series will, be in your favor to win if you can win games 3 and 4 at home.
Absolutely. And what is it going to take for them to maintain this role? Obviously, scoring more points than Milwaukee. So,
Yeah.
but defense is key, and you talked about that. Playing better defense, they're going to have to do that as well as score the ball.
Yeah, and I think two things. I mean, you talked about it, the defense. They shot 56%, hit 16 threes. Those are all measurables that you'd like to have. But the other two that I think Indiana has to control, the rebounding. In game 2, they out-rebounded Milwaukee 45-40, and they only had 6 turnovers. So if you do that, if you have a low turnover number and you can win the boards, you don't have to shoot 55% to win. But I think the one thing that Indiana proved is during the year, especially against Milwaukee, they can win different ways. They won a game earlier this year in Milwaukee going 5 for 35 from three-point range. Now, if we go back to game 1, they shot three-point shot very poorly, but they also had a high number of turnovers and they were out-rebounded. So I think rebounding and turnovers are key. I have a lot of faith in this team in making shots. They led the NBA in field goal percentage during the year. But I think it comes down to taking care of the basketball, limiting your turnovers, and doing a good job on the glass.
Absolutely. As I look over the schedule, the lineup for the playoffs, tonight you've got Cleveland at Orlando, New York at Philadelphia, Denver at Los Angeles. The New York and Philadelphia is a 5.5 point spread. The others are very close. Tomorrow, Milwaukee and Indiana. Indiana's favored by 5.5 points. LA at Dallas. Dallas is a 4.5 point favorite. Phoenix is a 4.5 point favorite at home against Minnesota. Then on Saturday, where is this? Boston at Miami, who Miami just cleaned Boston's clock. Yeah. Boston is an 8.5 point favorite at Miami.
That is amazing. I mean, Miami made 23 threes last night. You never doubt Eric Spoelstra and the Heat. We laugh in the league about Heat culture, but it is true. And they're doing this without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier. I mean, 2 of their main players are out due to injury, but Miami finds a way to win at Boston last night. So, that's the great thing about a best-of-7 series. Doc Rivers said it before the game, so did Rick Carlisle, is that every game is different. And you can't base on what happened in game 1 that's going to happen in game 2. The great thing about an NBA playoff series is adjustments are made. And sometimes, Jim, it favors the team that lost the previous game because now it's on them to make adjustments. And if you're the winning team, you're trying to figure out, okay, what kind of adjustments do we make? Do we want to just do the same thing that we did to win the previous game? So yeah, I look at favorites and all those kinds of things. Milwaukee, I'm sure, was a heavy favorite in game 2, and the Pacers won. The Clippers were a heavy favorite in game 2 in LA, and Luka Doncic in Dallas won. So I think the series that you talked about, Philadelphia, New York, it's 2-0. Philadelphia was on the wrong end of some calls that should have gone the other way. I said this to somebody, I could watch 14 games of this. I could watch 2 best-of-7 series between the Knicks and the 76ers because both venues, Madison Square Garden and Wells Fargo Center, have great fans. They're passionate. The teams don't like each other very much. And I'm looking forward to watching game 3 because the first 2 games have been outstanding. And I'm sure game 3 tonight in Philly will be the same.
Yeah, looking forward to that, and looking forward to this playoff game in Indianapolis. You mentioned the first time since when?
Yeah, since 2019 is the last time the Pacers hosted a playoff game.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, that was a game against Boston. They were swept out of the playoffs in 2019. They won a playoff game Tuesday night for the first time since 2018. The Pacers won Game 6 of that 7-game series with Cleveland. So that's the last time the Pacers have won a home playoff game. The other thing is, Jim, with what they've done now around Gainbridge Fieldhouse, Bicentennial Unity Plaza, the restaurant next door, the weather, it's going to be fantastic tomorrow. I think there will be a lot of people taking half days, work in the morning and head to Gainbridge Fieldhouse for the afternoon. With
little NCAA type feel.
Hey, it will. And then you have Sunday. I was remarking to my wife last night. It was almost 9 o'clock last night, and it was still light out. And so I think it's going to be great this weekend, and it's well deserved. It's great to see the Pacers back in the postseason, in the playoffs, and with a real chance to win this series in advance. So can't wait to be a part of it. Looking forward to tomorrow night, Game 3. And then Game 4 on Sunday.
Yeah, it should be a good one, especially, like I said, if they could manage to lock up 2 wins at home and put Milwaukee behind the 8 ball with a 3-1 deficit. Indiana could be looking at moving on in the series, which I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but that's what we do, man. You got to look forward and talk about stuff.
Well, that's what the hope is. I mean, we know that it's going to be at least 5 games with a return to Milwaukee next Tuesday. And here we are on this Thursday. Game 6, if necessary, would be next Thursday, a week from today in Indianapolis. Game 7, if necessary, is a week from Saturday in Milwaukee. So, first things first, the Pacers just have to focus on tomorrow night. And trying to you can't get to 3-1 unless you get to 2-1, and you've got to win tomorrow night's game to put some pressure on Milwaukee.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever is happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.